April, very good to see you. Happy Rothtober. Today we get to talk through 3 considerations before making a Roth conversion. Roth accounts are an amazing tool when it comes to creating wealth, and Roth IRAs are not subject to RMDs and they can pass on to your heirs tax-free. So if you are debating a Roth conversion, here are a few things to consider. First, what will your future tax rate be?
This is a tricky one right now too, because it's very, very likely that we're going to see some increases after the end of 2025. So we really have to look at this from two different lenses. One, as the tax code is today, and projecting what your retirement income will be, what those sources will be, and what level of taxation that you're subject to on those funds as well. And then we really need to also be looking at where you might be if the Tax Cuts and Job Act, Trump's tax cuts, if they do expire at the end of 2025. So there's a little bit of a guessing game in some of this right now.
And we're going to circle back on that. Absolutely. But the next consideration, you need to ask yourself when you will need access to those funds.
Yep. And looking at making sure that you are maximizing your income tax bracket on an annual basis to the best of your ability. That's something that we look very closely at with all of our clients, whether they're retired or not, because we know that right now taxes are actually historically low. And we always look at making sure that we're not leaving some of that money on the table. In other words, if this is the lowest rate that you're ever likely to pay again, then let's maximize that rate and make sure that we're paying as much as we can at that low rate. It's guaranteed that you're going to pay taxes, or your heirs will at some point, on those qualified dollars. So IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, it's not a matter of if they're going to be taxed. It's a matter of when and how much.
Right. I'm glad you brought that up, because that is our next consideration. Somebody's going to have to pay tax on that account. It's either going to be you or your beneficiary. And if it's the beneficiary, you have to figure out what their future tax rate will be.
And there are a couple of approaches here. Some people really prefer to get those taxes off the table now because of the uncertainty of the potential increases. We have a lot of our higher net worth clients who are filling up that tax bucket that they're in right now, because they also know that under the Secure Act and the rules that changed for beneficiaries, most beneficiaries that are non-spousal are going to have to take required minimum distributions every year, and they're going to have to adhere to the 10-year rule and empty those accounts out over a 10-year period of time. So this is a tax burden that's really being created. So one strategy is certainly Roth conversions now that could benefit you and potentially your children as well. Another strategy is utilizing life insurance to help offset the income taxes if that is a less expensive route and the preferred route to go. So a couple ways to handle that.
And again, something you touched on, but it bears repeating because it is so important. We are living in a historically low tax rate right now. Many financial experts believe the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017 reduced federal income tax rates to the lowest they may ever be. And those cuts are set to expire at the end of 2025.
Yes. And, it never feels like taxes are inexpensive. There's always some sticker shock when we see what it is that we're paying, but we have to have a system and a process for breaking these things down and looking at what our effective tax bracket is and making sure that we're being efficient. Because if and when the Tax Cut and Job Act does expire at the end of next year, if you're making $200,000, you're going to see a 16% increase in your federal income taxes. If you're making $400,000, you're going to see an 18% increase. These are pretty substantial increases. So 2024 and 2025 are pretty important periods of time to make sure that you're doing some effective tax planning and controlling what we can right now, because the future is just simply uncertain when it comes to income taxes.
Oof, a lot to consider. I think what we need to repeat, though, is that now is the time for everybody to sit down and crunch the numbers, because we may be in the lowest tax rate we will ever see. So, April, if somebody would like to do the math with you, what's the best way to reach you?
You can reach out to us via our website 24 hours a day at theretirementfamily.com, or feel free to give either of our offices a call, and our team is happy to help.
Great. April, thank you.
Thank you, Erin.